Welcome back. We are talking about the next film for the Winter Film Series with the Kamloops Film Society, and we have Terry Ann Wilson joining us, and of course Tom Friedman as well. Thanks both of you for being here.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you on to talk a little bit about each film every week. But before we get into this week's film, we want to talk, Tom, quickly about a special event happening prior to everything.
Yes, we decided that there's a lot of interest in Oscar Wilde. The Happy Prince is really about Oscar Wilde's later life and a lot of the tragic events that happened in his life. So we're very fortunate to have a professor from TRU, Dr. George Johnson, who's an expert on 19th and early 20th century British literature, to give a brief pre-film talk about Oscar Wilde. It's going to begin at 6 p.m. in the small theater at the Paramount, and we'll go till about 6:40. And at that time, people can then move to the larger theater and be prepared to see the film. And George is going to talk about Oscar Wilde's place in world literature, his Irish heritage, and the whole movement they call the fin de siècle, the end of the century, and the way that Oscar Wilde critiqued the Victorian mores of the time. And we always talk about Victorian, the moral code, and Wilde was a great critic of this. So I think people will really want to hear more about this, and George is a wonderful speaker.
And that's a really nice way to get you into, into the spirit of this film and really start the evening off, right?
Yeah.
So The Happy Prince, of course, is a drama, I guess you could say, right, Terry Ann?
Yes.
Pretty much the untold story. There's the poster there of the last days of Oscar Wilde. Take us through a little bit of the synopsis.
So one thing I will mention before I speak a little bit to the film is that this is Rupert Everett's piece, and he has spent 10 years getting this film made.
Oh, wow.
So this has involvement from all over the world where he's raised money. It was a huge labor of love for him. He's played Oscar Wilde before on both screen and stage. And so he's taken Oscar Wilde's life and he's really picked up where Oscar Wilde leaves off with his fall from grace. He goes from being the biggest star that ever was at the time, as famous as could be, to being this target of ridicule wherever he goes. And so Rupert Everett really captures that and really draws that part of the story out, because that's often not the story that gets told around Oscar Wilde's life. And in fact, in other projects has been made to be quite a flippant life, when really he suffered quite greatly and had every opportunity to get away from that. But Wilde would have, when he was given 6 minutes before they came to arrest him to haul him off, would have realized that if he had fled, he would not have been remembered, really. And so he protected his legacy and his body of work by staying and standing his ground and going to prison. And this movie really drills into that and shares what that would have looked like and felt like, and draws us into that world in a non-linear storytelling kind of way. So it's non-linear flashbacks, location shooting, Italy, France, England, all brought to life for us, 19th century. Fall from grace of this amazing and iconic figure.
Well, let's see what you're talking about, Terry Ann, the untold story pretty much of Oscar Wilde. And here is a little bit of the trailer from The Happy Prince.
Why does one run towards ruin? Why does it hold such a fascination?
Appreciation has been most intelligent. I congratulate you on the success of your performance.
What I'm saying is that I have lived in the grip of vice and pleasure.
Oscar Wilde, the sentence of the court is that you be imprisoned and kept to hard labor for 2 years.
It was wrong, and I have paid.
We'll make a Catholic of you yet.
Only unlike dear Jesus, you have luggage.
I fully intend to effect a reconciliation with my wife.
I feel sure that if I was to see him once, I would forgive him everything.
And rest assured, I shall never see Lord Alfred Douglas again.
I forbid him to live with that infernal man.
Oscar, let's run away. Somewhere no one could find us. don't know what you're saying.
Then you will never see Constance again.
Not wearing your silk stockings today, Oscar.
You go too far, sir.
No, you go too far.
So these are the pieces, I guess, Terry Ann and Tom, that people have not seen from Oscar Wilde's story. They don't know necessarily these bits and pieces of his life.
It also highlights and I think draws a line under the legacy, the treatment of people people that are different. As soon as someone is different in the way we'll celebrate them, but then how we love to tear them down. And I think Rupert Everett has done a tremendous amount of work, not just through this film, but in his own personal life, to champion the cause of the rights of other communities. And I think that this film really reminds us of not just the man and the work, but what he suffered, the price he paid.
It's powerful. It is. It's powerful.
And it has so many lessons for today. This is a period piece, but it speaks to a much broader universal message about tolerance and about the conflicts. I mean, here we have a great creative genius whose family life was so confusing and so debilitating in many ways. Married with 2 children and yet having affairs with men. And, I think it speaks to also about the role of the artist in society.
Wonderful. Yeah, it seems really interesting. The Happy Prince, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at the Paramount Theatre. But of course, as Tom mentioned, get there early, and that special speaking series starts at
6 p.m.
6 p.m. And you'll find out, it sort of sets up The Happy Prince, and you get to know a little bit more about Oscar Wilde. KamloopsFilmSeries.ca for more information and any tickets. There are some available, of course,
There
right?
are,
Great.
definitely.
But I'm sure they sell fast as per usual.
Yeah.
This will be another great film. Don't miss it. We're back in a couple of minutes with Linda Coles from Sahali Liquor Store. Stay with us.